Okay, let's review turn 6, November 1941 of the Dark Valley. Let's take a look at the casualties. All right, so for under combat, not too much going on. Soviets had a couple attacks and they lost a unit or two, and the Germans had a couple attacks. Some step losses, and there's some step losses on the board still. Isolation, lost a guards unit there, and some more of those infantry armies. I tell you, you get them cut off, and it's a no combat kill if they are isolated in the attrition segment and they are next to an enemy combat unit. These guys down here in the south, they're isolated now, but they weren't next to an enemy unit. They were able to move away. Also, there's another little thing the Soviets get in here during a move segment called emergency withdrawal. And if you cannot move into one of your compass direction hexes as a regular move, you can do an emergency withdrawal where you negate zones of control and you retreat as long as it's not in the enemy's compass direction for retreat. And when you move your 2 hexes away, you cannot be adjacent to an enemy unit. So a couple of guys down here were able to get out of that pocket because they could move into that hex. So those guys got out. This 3-4 got out because once you back out 2 hexes, you have to be 2 hexes away from the hex you started in, and you cannot stop adjacent to an enemy unit. There was a guy up in here. He was not able to get out because he could have only gone to 1538 or 1539. That would have been adjacent to an enemy unit. So, and he was isolated, so he got eliminated. Pretty good position right there along the river there, along the Dnieper. So we just starting to get some reinforcements in. Still got 2 units over in the Stavka Reserve because they come in steps. In 1942, that increases to a minimum of 6 steps, no matter what you roll on the die. If you roll more than 6, then it's that number, but it's a minimum of 6. And then 43 and everything after that, it's a minimum of 8. Okay, so let's see. I chose this Panzer unit, and I think I chose the 3rd. You only got to select 2 to have their Panzer chits pulled, and I chose this one here, but I had to pull them back because the supply situation and mixed turn, they're not able to move their maximum. Plus, they were already under a -2 because they were receiving air supply, so they really only had 5 movement points, and I couldn't. If I'd have moved any farther, they'd end up probably getting cut off. So I had to bring them back, get them into supply. I won't get any armor replacements till I think it's turn 11, I guess. So some of those guys are weakened. All right, let's see what I get for reinforcements. Like I said, the Soviets are starting to get them in bulk now. So the supply depot turn to move them, I only rolled a 1. So they only got to move 3. So this guy down here going through the Pripyat marshes, he is just not making any headway. He got delayed a couple times because there was still a Soviet unit in the way. This guy down here, he could not move. He would have been where that Italian unit is, but he couldn't because there was a Soviet unit right there in that intersection. All right, key retreats, even without a supply units. Oops, sorry, I got my finger in the way there. What do we get? Kharkov now has the city defense because Smolensk was isolated, and the Germans have now taken that. And that's where they eliminated that guards unit, that guards infantry unit. So, all right, so Moscow now has the fortified zone in its second stage, its full stage. So 1, 2, there's 3 units there that get that benefit of a fortified zone. And there's a good line there, but there's no tiers of it. So I'm hoping as the reinforcements start to come in, we'll be able to build that up. Because, I mean, at least Kiev is already lost. It's been lost. So I got to make sure to hang on to at least Moscow and Leningrad. Now, the Soviets every turn get 5 replacement factors for Leningrad, Moscow, Kiev, Engels, and I think Stalingrad's the other one. There's Stalingrad, and there's Engels out here. Kiev's lost, so they're getting 20 replacement factors, and that's strength points. So one of these guys over here, if he was going to be a replacement, that would burn up 5 of those RFs. They got something else they can do too. That, okay, yeah, the fortified zone. But if they just chose not to use that, they could have got an additional 5 RFs. But I figured that's going to come in handy. All right, so a bunch of isolated units from Smolensk up. They got trucks. So now there's a big gap right there. Fortunately, that's mountainous terrain for the Soviets. I got a shock army came in. Where's he at? Right there. And I got another one down here that had come on. Right there. And some Guards cavalry. I assume those are World War II Cossacks. Starting to build up that Leningrad line a little bit, but the Germans sure have a mass up there. I got to do what I can to keep Leningrad. And the Germans are now up to 25 victory points. So they've got November and December. They need 3 more. And I'm not sure. I mean, there's a few of them right here close to each other if they could get through. And there's a heap of them up here in this area, but I don't think they can get through all of that. Like I say, Bryansk is not one. Tula, Voronezh, Kharkov, Stalino, Dniprovsk, Zaporozhye. Yeah, they've got to get 3 of these, which means they may have to stretch themselves out of supply to get to them. I think right here. Let me check this one here. I'm not sure whether that is or not. It might just be an intersection. Let's see. Yeah, it's not. Some little town. But that unit's been in there for a while. All right, so 25 victory points for the Germans. They need 3 more, and they've got December. Oh, no, I take that back. They're on December now. This is the last turn. So they got to take 3 this turn. And the weather is snow. Also, your chart determines what chits go in the cup. So we're going to December of 41. So from December through February. Yeah, I don't see it happen. They don't get any of their Panzer things. They get a move and they get a combat. And the Soviets get Stavka, 1 move and 1 combat. With So I don't know. I don't see it happening. I don't see the Germans doing it. But we'll give, with all the numbers they got still too. Well, we'll give it the best we can. We don't get any special Panzer chit pulls this time. Plus now the Soviets have air power, or they have some air. It's not super effective. I've used the stuff a couple times, and they can only use them once per turn, and only 1 per combat. So they can't stack them up. They can stack up their T-34 add-ons there. They can do with those, but they still only get to use each of those only once per turn, whereas the Germans get to use their stuff once per phase, including their air. All right, so hey, if you're enjoying this, click like. If you want to keep up to date, click subscribe and notify. That way you'll catch on to more of the videos I do. I want to do some live playthroughs where I just film playing through, but this game's so large that I can't picture myself doing. Although, you know, when you execute the whatever chit is pulled, the only 2 big ones are move and combat, because that's when you're moving everything or you're combating with everything, or whatever you choose to. All right, anyhow, we'll get back to you after we finish the year of 1941, the December turn. Thanks for checking in.